For years, earning $200,000 a year has been presented as the finish line of financial success. The number sounds powerful, almost magical. Mention it at a dinner table, and people immediately imagine freedom, comfort, and choices. They picture beautiful homes, reliable cars, expensive vacations, and a future protected from financial stress. In the public imagination, a $200,000 salary still signals arrival, status, and security. Yet the strange part is that many people who actually earn that income do not feel rich at all. By 2027, the world looks different. Prices have climbed, expectations have expanded, and entire lifestyles have become more expensive. The salary that once represented extraordinary success now often delivers something far less dramatic. Stability with conditions, comfort with pressure, and opportunity with invisible obligations. Most people never see coming. The problem is not simply inflation. It is expectation inflation. Every raise creates a new baseline. Every financial milestone quietly resets the definition of enough. A larger paycheck often attracts a larger mortgage, better schools, higher insurance costs, utilities, and social circles that assume more spending. The result is a life that appears wealthier from the outside, while feeling surprisingly ordinary from the inside. That contradiction sits at the heart of this story. The question is not whether $200,000 is a good income. It absolutely is. The real question is what that income can actually buy after modern costs, modern expectations, and modern comparisons have taken their share. Because once you look beyond the headline number, a very different picture begins to emerge. And before we can understand what a $200,000 life feels like, most people assume that earning more money automatically solves financial problems. It sounds logical. If someone making $60,000 struggles with bills, then surely someone earning $200,000 must feel completely different. But income does not exist in isolation. The moment earnings rise, expectations often rise alongside them, and those expectations can consume surprising amounts of money. Imagine two neighbors. One earns $70,000 and drives a modest car. The other earns $200,000 and drives a luxury SUV. From the outside, the second person appears significantly wealthier. Yet what people rarely see are the monthly payments, insurance premiums, maintenance costs, and lifestyle commitments attached to that image. Higher income often unlocks access to more expensive choices, but access is not the same thing as freedom. The hidden cost of earning more is that society begins to expect more from you. Friends assume you can afford the nicer restaurant. Family members may come to you for help. Coworkers discuss vacations that suddenly seem normal. Even your own standards start to shift. The house that once felt perfect now feels too small. The car that once felt reliable now feels outdated. The financial goalpost quietly moves. This is why many high earners feel confused. Their income has increased dramatically, yet their sense of financial progress feels smaller than expected. They are running faster, but the finish line keeps moving further away. What looked like a straightforward path to wealth becomes a constant balancing act between earning, spending, and maintaining expectations. And nowhere does this illusion become more visible than when the government takes its share before you ever see the money in your bank account. A $200,000 salary sounds enormous when you read it on paper. The number alone creates an image of abundance. Most people instinctively divide it by 12 and imagine more than $16,000 arriving every month. On the surface, it feels like the kind of income that should remove financial stress forever. But that is where the illusion begins. The salary you earn and the money you actually control are often two very different numbers. Before a dollar reaches your account, taxes, retirement contributions, healthcare costs, and various deductions begin taking their share. The result is that the impressive headline salary starts shrinking long before it reaches your wallet. This creates one of the biggest psychological shocks for high earners. They work hard enough to reach an income level that many people dream about, only to discover that their day-to-day reality feels far less dramatic than expected. The promotion arrives, the raise arrives, the bigger paycheck arrives. Yet the lifestyle transformation is often much smaller than the imagination promised. What makes this even more surprising is that every additional dollar earned can feel less powerful than the one before it. The higher the income climbs, the more people begin noticing how much of it never truly feels like theirs. Instead of celebrating a large annual salary, They start focusing on what actually lands in their bank account each month. And once that monthly number becomes clear, another uncomfortable question appears. If a $200,000 income produces far less spending power than most people imagine, where exactly does the money go? The answer becomes obvious when you examine the ordinary monthly expenses that quietly shape the life of a high earner. The easiest way to understand a $200,000 salary is not by looking at the annual number. It is by following where the money goes every month. This is where the fantasy of being rich collides with reality. Imagine a professional living in a desirable area with a family. The mortgage or rent immediately claims a significant portion of income. Add property taxes, utilities, home maintenance, and insurance, and housing alone becomes a major financial commitment. Then come transportation costs. A reliable vehicle, fuel, insurance, repairs, and registration quietly consume more money than most people realize. Next are the expenses that rarely make headlines but dominate modern life. Health insurance, childcare, groceries, subscriptions, internet service, mobile phones, and countless small recurring charges. Individually, they seem manageable. Together, they create a powerful financial current that constantly pulls money away from savings and investment goals. Then there are the lifestyle expenses that often accompany higher income. Weekend trips, dining out, holiday gifts, children's activities, and social events. None of these purchases feel extravagant on their own. In fact, many feel completely normal. That is exactly why they are so dangerous. The most expensive habits are rarely the ones that feel luxurious. They are the ones that feel ordinary. This is where many high earners experience an uncomfortable realization. They are not living recklessly. They are not wasting money. Yet large portions of their income disappear every month simply supporting what society considers a successful life. And once those monthly obligations become permanent, something even more powerful begins to emerge. The financial challenge is no longer about surviving. It becomes about keeping up with the people around you, many of whom are running the exact same race. One of the strangest things about earning a higher income is that your financial challenges stop being purely financial. They become social. At first, the increase in salary feels personal, like a reward for years of effort and sacrifice. But over time, you begin noticing that your spending decisions are influenced by something far more powerful than numbers. They are influenced by the people around you. Imagine attending a gathering with friends who have all moved up professionally. Conversations that once revolved around saving money now revolve around home renovations, luxury vacations, private schools, and investment properties. Nobody explicitly tells you to spend more. Nobody pressures you directly. Yet the pressure is there. It exists in the expectations, the comparisons, and the silent desire to belong. This is how lifestyle inflation often spreads. Not through greed, but through normalization. The expensive restaurant becomes the usual restaurant. The luxury vehicle becomes the expected vehicle. The upgraded neighborhood becomes the logical next step. What once looked extravagant slowly starts looking ordinary. The dangerous part is that these changes rarely feel irresponsible. In fact, they often feel justified. After all, you've worked hard. You've earned more. You deserve better. But every upgrade creates a new baseline, and every new baseline becomes harder to maintain. Many people believe financial success means escaping pressure. In reality, a higher income often replaces old pressures with new ones. Instead of worrying about paying bills, you begin worrying about maintaining a lifestyle. And this is where the story becomes even more complicated. Because after the spending changes, something deeper starts to change as well. It is not your bank account. It is the way you see yourself. Long before a higher salary changes your lifestyle, it changes your identity. This transformation is subtle. There is no ceremony, no official announcement. One day you simply realize that the way you think about yourself has begun to evolve. For years, many people view a $200,000 salary as a distant goal. It represents success, competence, and financial achievement. Reaching it feels like crossing an invisible line. Suddenly, you are no longer comparing yourself to where you started. You are comparing yourself to where you believe you should be next. This is the hidden psychological shift that few people discuss. The income itself becomes less important than the identity attached to it. You start seeing yourself as a high earner. Others may see you that way too. Their expectations change. Your expectations change. The standards that once felt ambitious begin to feel normal. Ironically, this new identity can create as much pressure as it creates confidence. You may feel more successful than before, but you also feel a stronger need to maintain that success. A job loss feels more threatening. Financial setbacks feel more serious. The lifestyle you built now depends on keeping the machine running. This is why many people are surprised when they reach a financial milestone they dreamed about for years. They expected relief. Instead, they discover responsibility. They expected certainty. Instead, they discover new expectations. And perhaps the biggest surprise of all is that even after reaching a salary that once seemed extraordinary, many people still do not feel rich. In fact, some feel less wealthy than they imagined they would. That contradiction leads directly to one of the most fascinating realities of modern income. Why earning $200,000 often fails to create the feeling people were chasing in the first place. If you ask someone earning $50,000 what a $200,000 life looks like, the answer is often simple. They imagine freedom. They imagine comfort. They imagine a future where financial worries finally disappear. Yet when many people actually reach that income level, the emotional experience is surprisingly different. The reason is that feeling rich and being rich are not the same thing. Feeling rich is psychological. It depends on expectations, comparisons, and daily experiences. A person earning $200,000 may have more income than they ever imagined. But if everyone around them earns the same or more, that advantage becomes invisible. What once felt extraordinary starts feeling average. This is one of the great paradoxes of modern wealth. People rarely measure themselves against where they came from. Instead, they measure themselves against the people standing next to them. A professional who once dreamed of a six-figure salary may achieve it, only to find themselves surrounded by colleagues earning $300,000, executives earning $500,000, and entrepreneurs making even more. The comparison instantly changes the emotional meaning of success. At the same time, higher income often brings larger financial commitments. Bigger homes, better schools, retirement goals, and family responsibilities create a constant sense of obligation. The paycheck grows, but so does the list of things depending on that paycheck. That is why many high earners quietly confess the same thing. They feel comfortable, but not wealthy. Successful, but not free. Secure, but not rich. And once comparison becomes the yardstick for success, a dangerous question begins to emerge. If $200,000 is not enough to feel rich, then what exactly is? The search for financial success often begins with a number. People tell themselves that life will feel different once they reach a certain income, net worth, or milestone. The assumption is simple: earn more, save more, and eventually satisfaction will arrive. But comparison has a way of changing the rules. A person earning $200,000 may look wealthy to most of the population. Yet wealth is rarely judged in absolute terms. It is judged relative to the environment around you. Move into a neighborhood filled with executives, business owners, and investors, and a salary that once felt extraordinary can suddenly feel ordinary. This is why comparison is such a powerful force. It constantly redefines what success looks like. The professional earning $200,000 notices someone making $300,000. The person making $300,000 notices someone worth $5 million. The millionaire notices someone worth $50 million. Every level reveals another level above it. The trap is that comparison never offers a finish line. It only offers a moving target. The more attention people give to what others have, the less satisfaction they feel from what they have already achieved. Financial progress becomes difficult to enjoy because there is always another benchmark waiting in the distance. What makes this especially dangerous is that the comparisons are often invisible. Social media, professional networks, and affluent communities create the impression that everyone is doing better than they really are. People compare their complete reality to someone else's carefully selected highlights. Eventually, a deeper realization begins to emerge. The people who genuinely feel wealthy are not always the highest earners. In many cases, they are the people who understand a distinction that most never learn: the difference between having a high salary and possessing real wealth. One of the biggest misconceptions about money is the belief that income and wealth are the same thing. They are related, but they are not identical. A $200,000 salary can place someone among the higher earners in society, Yet that does not automatically mean they occupy the highest levels of financial security. Think of wealth as a ladder with multiple levels. Income helps you climb, but wealth determines how high you've actually reached. At the lower levels, people trade time for money and depend entirely on each paycheck. At the middle levels, income is strong, savings are growing, and investments begin contributing to future security. But at the highest levels, something fundamentally changes. Money starts generating more money than labor ever could. This is where many high earners encounter a surprising reality. They may earn $200,000 per year, but they are still dependent on their next paycheck. Their lifestyle, mortgage, responsibilities, and future plans all rely on continued employment. In contrast, someone with substantial assets may earn less income while enjoying greater freedom and stability. The difference becomes even more noticeable in expensive cities and affluent communities. A $200,000 salary may place someone comfortably in the upper middle class, but not necessarily among the truly wealthy. The people who often appear financially relaxed are not always the highest earners. They are the ones whose assets have begun working harder than they do. This realization changes the entire conversation. The goal is no longer simply earning more money. The goal becomes building something that can survive without your constant effort. And that requires understanding a distinction that many ambitious professionals overlook for years: the difference between salary and net worth. For most of their careers, people focus on income. It makes sense. Income is visible, easy to measure, and directly connected to lifestyle. Promotions, raises, bonuses, and new opportunities all revolve around earning more. But there comes a point where the most important financial question is no longer, how much do you make? It becomes, how much do you own? This is the distinction between salary and net worth, and it changes everything. A salary is what you earn. Net worth is what you keep. Salary depends on your ability to work. Net worth represents the assets that remain whether you work or not. Someone earning $200,000 a year may appear more successful than someone earning $80,000. Yet if the second person has accumulated substantial investments, property, and savings while keeping expenses low, they may actually possess greater financial strength. The reason is simple. Income creates opportunity, but net worth creates resilience. When economic conditions change, companies downsize, or industries evolve, a high salary can disappear remarkably fast. Assets, however, continue to exist. They provide options, flexibility, and security during uncertain times. This is why many financially successful people eventually stop obsessing over income milestones. They begin focusing on ownership. Instead of asking how much they can earn next year, they ask how much of their future can be funded without working. The shift is subtle but powerful. One mindset is built around producing money. The other is built around accumulating freedom. And once people start measuring success through freedom instead of income, another uncomfortable truth often appears. Even a $200,000 salary can feel limiting when your entire lifestyle depends on keeping it. That realization leads directly to the next question. If the paycheck stops, how free are you really? At first glance, earning $200,000 a year seems like the ultimate escape plan. Most people imagine that once they reach that level of income, they will finally gain control over their time. They picture the ability to say no, take risks, and make decisions without worrying about money. But for many high earners, the opposite happens. The higher the income rises, the more responsibilities often attach themselves to it. A larger home brings a larger mortgage. A better neighborhood brings higher taxes. A growing family creates new expenses. What began as financial progress slowly transforms into a lifestyle that requires constant maintenance. The paycheck grows, but so does the cost of preserving the life built around it. This creates a hidden form of dependence. The individual earning $200,000 may appear successful from the outside, yet internally they know something important. Missing several paychecks could create serious problems. The lifestyle depends on continued performance, continued employment, and continued income. That is why many professionals describe their situation as a golden cage. The cage is comfortable. It offers security, prestige, and convenience. But it is still a cage because leaving the job feels difficult, even when the desire for freedom grows stronger. The irony is striking. Many people spend years pursuing a higher salary in order to feel free. only to discover that a higher salary can sometimes create new forms of obligation. Success becomes something that must be maintained rather than enjoyed. And this is where an unexpected comparison begins to emerge. Because some people earning far less money seem to experience a level of freedom that many high earners never achieve. The question is why? One of the most surprising lessons in personal finance is that the highest earners are not always the people making the most progress. Society tends to assume that financial success follows a simple formula: earn more money and life automatically improves. But reality is often more complicated. Consider two individuals. The first earns $200,000 a year and spends most of it maintaining a demanding lifestyle. The second earns $100,000 but lives well below their means, invests consistently, and avoids unnecessary financial obligations. On paper, the first person appears to be winning. In practice, the outcome may be very different. The lower earner often benefits from something powerful: flexibility. Their lifestyle requires less income to sustain. Their savings rate may be higher. Their financial decisions are driven by long-term goals rather than short-term appearances. While others are upgrading houses, vehicles, and expenses, they are quietly accumulating assets. This is why true wealth can be difficult to recognize. It rarely announces itself. The people building lasting financial security are not always driving the nicest cars or living in the largest homes. In many cases, they look completely ordinary. Their advantage is not a spectacular income. Their advantage is the gap between what they earn and what they spend. Over time, that gap becomes incredibly powerful. Investments grow. Debt declines. Options expand. Financial stress decreases. What begins as discipline gradually transforms into freedom. This challenges one of society's most popular assumptions. The winner is not necessarily the person earning the biggest paycheck. The winner is often the person building the strongest foundation. And that realization raises an even deeper question. If more money alone does not create satisfaction, then what actually does? For most of life, more money feels like progress. The first raise feels exciting. The first 5-figure savings account feels significant. The first 6-figure income feels transformational. Each milestone brings a sense of achievement because it represents movement. You are climbing, improving, and getting closer to the life you imagined. But something unusual begins to happen after a certain point. The emotional reward starts shrinking. The increase in income that once would have felt life-changing now feels surprisingly ordinary. The promotion arrives, the bonus arrives, the salary grows, yet the excitement fades much faster than expected. This phenomenon has less to do with money and more to do with human psychology. People adapt quickly. What once felt extraordinary becomes normal. The house that seemed luxurious becomes familiar. The income that felt impressive becomes expected. The lifestyle upgrade that created excitement becomes part of everyday life. As a result, many high earners find themselves chasing numbers that no longer produce the satisfaction they expect. They continue moving forward, but the feeling of arrival never comes. The destination keeps shifting. Every achievement creates a new benchmark. Every milestone creates a new target. This is why some of the happiest people are not necessarily the highest earners. At some point, satisfaction becomes less about accumulation and more about alignment. It becomes about whether money supports the life you want rather than whether you have more than someone else. And once that realization takes hold, the entire definition of financial success begins to change. The question is no longer how much money you can earn. The question becomes what that money is ultimately supposed to do for your life. After all the headlines, comparisons, and assumptions, the truth about a $200,000 salary in 2027 is both simpler and more complicated than most people expect. It does not automatically buy luxury. It does not guarantee happiness. It does not instantly place someone among the truly wealthy. But it does provide something that millions of people are searching for every day. It buys stability. Not perfect stability, but enough to absorb unexpected challenges without constant panic. It buys options. The ability to make decisions from a position of strength rather than desperation. It buys time to think before reacting. It buys opportunities that lower incomes often struggle to access. Most importantly, it buys a degree of control. Not complete freedom, but partial freedom. The freedom to invest. The freedom to save. The freedom to plan beyond the next paycheck. These advantages may not be as visible as luxury cars or expensive vacations, yet they are often far more valuable. The mistake many people make is believing that wealth is defined by appearance. In reality, the most meaningful benefits of money are usually invisible. Less stress, more flexibility, greater resilience. The confidence that comes from knowing a setback is an inconvenience rather than a disaster. That is why a $200,000 salary should not be viewed as a finish line. It is better understood as a platform. What matters is not the income itself, but what you build with it. Some people use it to fund a lifestyle. Others use it to purchase freedom. And that may be the most important lesson of all. The goal is not to look rich. The goal is to create a life where money becomes less important because it quietly supports the things that matter most. The people who understand that are often the ones who feel truly wealthy, regardless of what their paycheck says.